Hey, welcome to the Forte Podcast, where emerging creatives in film sit down for a behind-the-scenes conversation about their process, the ups and downs of the biz, and everything in between. In this episode, we connect with the co-founders of Ugly Art Films, Elijah Crawford and Zach Miscavage, and production designer and multidisciplinary artist Kimberly Redman, as they recount their aha moments, the importance of always backing up hard drives, and much more.
Hi, I'm Kim Redman, and I'm a production designer, stylist, and makeup artist here in Philadelphia.
Elijah Crawford. I am the director and co-founder of Ugly Art Films.
And I am Zach Miscavage, the cinematographer and other co-founder of Ugly Art Films.
Yeah, how are you doing today, Kim?
Me? Oh, I'm doing fantastic.
Chilling.
Yeah, chilling, letting the summer breeze just take me away. What about you guys?
We're good.
We're staying afloat,
We're
Kim,
staying
you know?
afloat, man. You know,
With
what
the
can
summer
you do?
breeze?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like we're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
We just got these prototypes back for the BTS from the film, and it looks remarkable. I would show people, but got to keep the ideas to ourselves.
No, you got to keep it. You got to keep it close.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
When did we meet?
Oh, okay, so we met, I think it was December 2019. Wow. I think it was, it was a while ago. December 2019, I was asked by this person, Cami, who was leading this whole art group, performance piece where there was many individual artists at the Painted Bride. And I had a live performance piece where I was making a stance about trash. And so I made the entire set out of trash bags that I pulled from all my friends. My costume was made from leftover wall dividers. I made a whole corset. So the entire piece was made out of trash. I just performed live, moving around to the music.
Yeah.
The piece was called Trash Is Now, or Trash of Now. And it was just to kind of show the beauty and the horrors of trash. That's where I met Elijah.
Yeah.
I'm so mad that I missed that.
Oh, it was nuts.
I remember talking to Eli after that and him being like, yo, you walk in and immediately there's just someone there who's frolicking through this trash. And I was like, I have no idea what
you
that
also
means.
there was a hanging frame, right?
Yeah, there was a hanging frame.
Yeah.
And little cardboard birds.
Yeah.
Hanging from the ceiling that my friend Andrea Parmalee made with me. She assisted me on the project.
Dope.
Which was really awesome.
Yeah.
She's another designer and props person in Philly. And to have her help on that was really lovely. And it was one of the first times I did a live performance piece and a moment at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's funny because we tapped you to do another project because I saw you in that.
Yeah, that's how we started doing Stella Virgin.
Yeah, that is
I
actually
met you.
That is when I met you.
Which is crazy that it took still probably 3 years. No, 2 years.
No, it
after
took about 2 years.
Yeah, for us to
COVID
meet.
was 3 years long, right?
Yeah.
2020 was at least 3 years.
But we met up in a garage.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ever met Zach. I was escorted there by Elijah, you know.
Yeah, so for some context, when we had launched Ugly Art, we had done it with a batch of 5 skits, and then the last one, the sixth one, was a mock interview of us launching the company, which is hilarious that we're now sitting in the exact same positions, almost, having another talk years later. But we launched the company with a fake interview where Kim, you played Stella Virgin, a outlandish outlandish host of your own show. And then we met that day, and it's been
a beautiful ride since.
Yeah.
So what got you guys wanting to do these little clips to promote your production company? Because I think it's pretty cool.
It's funny. I will give Zach full credit for that. When we were coming out with Ugly Art, it was more so just trying to make good art in the visual media format, and we went through a lot of trial and error. And again, there are so many. We made 6. We probably shot 10 of them. 4 of them did not see the light of day. I will bring them up here and there just to mess with Zach to show him how
They were so bad.
They're so bad. It was interesting because it started as one thing, and Zach was like, "We should make these 30-second ads, just so that instead of making specs for other companies, we can make something for us, and then like share that with other people. None of them were 30 seconds, and that is my fault.
30 real seconds is 3 minutes on Eli.
Yeah. I'll be like, oh, 30 seconds, nothing. And then I'll write a script, and the script will be like 3.5 minutes. And Zach will be like, what are we doing? But it worked out though, because it got to show people like on a long format that we were capable of telling a story.
Yeah.
And it kept people engaged. And once we came out the gate doing that with like 2-3 minute things, we've had companies now that'll ask us for like multiple skits or like something that long as opposed to just a 30-second ad.
Yeah.
And I think to this day, I still struggle with that. Someone will be like, yo, we need a 30-second spot. And I'll be sitting in the meeting like, that's nothing. And Zach will slowly just look over at me like, you know damn well that's not gonna,
Our short film that we just shot is supposed to be 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
I just shot a 20-something page script. So like, I don't know where the time was supposed to go.
And it was like proofread. Like that was chopped down to 25 pages.
What are you going to cut?
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Which is no good though, because like, and the movie we just shot, which you were a part of that as well on 2 different things.
Yeah.
You reprised your Stella Virgin role to do like some on the scene type, like documentary style.
Behind the scenes foolery.
Really cool. Yeah. But you also did the voice for the cassette.
Yeah.
And you were the only one who didn't audition. Like I called you and I was like, yo, bro, we're holding open auditions. You already have your role. Don't even worry about it.
This is true. I remember you called me and you were like, yeah, auditions are happening. But you're fine. Enjoy your move.
You were moving.
I wasn't moving. You thought I was moving. I was like, hey, Elijah, I'm moving things to my studio. Go, well, have a great move. Bye. Hang up.
Yeah. So it's wild. The Cure for Depression is a short film that me and Zach contrived, and it's about contrived. I don't even think that's the right word, but we're gonna rock it out. But me and Zach came up with, this was like during the midst of the pandemic. And it was more so like during the pandemic, there were a lot of pros and cons, but I'd say like the social media era really had a boom, and TikTok specifically. And I remember getting on TikTok and just seeing a lot of people selling happiness to hopeless people. And that really struck a chord with me. Like I was not okay with that. I also had a cousin who committed suicide during the pandemic. So like when like the riots and stuff were going on in Philadelphia, I was at a funeral. Like I was in Florida.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's not totally fine, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Right. But I do appreciate the sentiment. And I think you can make a hustle how you want to. Like I've never been one to knock somebody's hustle, but it's just, I would see a lot of like self-help gurus just being like, the reason you're not happy is because you're not visualizing happiness. Like you gotta see your future. And I'm like, all right, bro, that's like the bare minimum step of telling someone how to be happy. And I was like, damn, it would be cool if we could make a film about that. Because me and Zach none of our stuff is very serious. It's all very tongue-in-cheek. It's all satire-based. You know what I mean? Like
very camp.
Yeah, and we've realized that's the best way to convey information to people, right? No one wants to hear us preach, but if we can talk to them in a funny manner, the message can get conveyed to them that way, and they'll be like, I learned something while I was laughing. You know what I mean? And that's just the basis of how we've done the company in general. So with that movie, it was no exception. I was like, we need to make a movie about this. And like some of our biggest inspirations, like aesthetically, we were like talking to them about it. Like we went to see Nadia Lee Cohen in New York for like a meet and greet. And we were like, yo, you have a short film that we watched to inspire our movie. And like, just to put that into the world, maybe the TikTok people are right about that. But there was a lot more action after it. Yeah. And I remember we just saw Alex Prager, which is another huge influence of ours. And we brought it up to them. Like, dude, check this out. Like, you gotta come to the screening of this movie. Kind of putting that weight on it because it's easy to get imposter syndrome at any stage. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, me and Zach didn't go to school for, not even for that. We didn't go to school. Yeah, like we dropped out of community college. You know what I mean?
That.
Yeah. We, I went to school for computer science and I dropped out after like the first semester. And then
I went to community college for graphic design and same thing, didn't make it to the end of my first semester, dropped out. You want to round it out with your college experience?
But I do want to ask a question before. Like, do you feel like graphic design has like influenced like the way that you move forward in your work?
100%. I think so much of what I do as a cinematographer comes from that eye. And then So basically, I had transitioned from graphic design to photography, and even towards the end of like when I was really pursuing that, you could see everything that I was doing definitely felt a lot more graphic. So the lighting was very shaped, you know, like I never wanted things to look natural. And I think that came from a way of like seeing things as shapes and seeing things from that essence of design and being like, I want this to look like that. And so I found those shapes out in the world or like through models doing poses. And I think that we were able to bring that to ugly art because a lot of our stuff is so staged and it's so out of the real world. We're able to like build our own reality. So being able to do that, I think that it has translated a little bit somehow from...
You still use it.
Yeah, and like we do, so like all of our branding, all of the graphics that are included with our stuff, any like pre-roll things, I'm still designing that.
That's awesome.
Any props that still need designs, those are my favorite.
I'm like,
But
yeah, you gotta stop playing with this man. Yo, he kills me, man. He'll like, Zach will like design branding for like an insane project that we're doing and we'll just want to be credited as the cinematographer. And I'm like, yo, you like helped create this world in more ways than one. You know what I mean? And I think it's just, and I know it's like trying to get out of that stigma of like, I'm not a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I'm very good at being a cinematographer, which is important. But every branding at the logo, Zach made the logo. We did the Stella Virgin thing. Zach made the, you know what I mean? He made the PNGs for that, the overlays. Honestly, anything that has been graphic based with ugly art, like with our branding and identity, has been Zach. And it's just funny. I mean, I'm in the room too, but he's creating it. You know what I mean? Like, let's make
There's influence and the hands.
But you, I remember we were talking, you went to school for acting.
For acting, yeah. I know, and here I am. I went to art school from the point I was in 7th grade throughout college. So I've always studied acting pretty much as like my main source of art, but I've always done sculptures and paintings, and I danced when I was younger for about 11 years. But I did have a dance instructor that I went to for like this musical theater summer camp that says, when you start dancing at 5 and you stop dancing at 13, you never actually danced in your life. So maybe I never danced. But I like to think I move. And that was something I did do for a period of time that I also think influences how I am with like timing and such. But then in college, I continued on with acting, and I ended up taking a intensive course with the local company called Pig Iron, which is like a clowning school.
Oh, no
No
way.
way.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no, I am a clown. Not officially.
Well,
Please, Pig
patriotic.
Iron, don't come after me. No, I did not pay for one of your week-long classes, but we had like long courses where I really think they shaped how I think about narrative and like storytelling, and I think that really influenced my design, because by the time I was like about sophomore year going into junior year, I was like crying to my friend Allison, who was also in Cure for Depression, being like, I'm so miserable. I don't know why I feel this way. And she was like, take a design class. And I was like, you think I can't act? You think this isn't for me?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, you're miserable. Do something that actually makes you feel good. And so I took a scenic design class for theater, and I was the only actor out of a class of 20 designers, and I got the internship at the end of the semester, which was awesome. So I interned with Kirsten Robinson, who is a Barrymore Award-winning designer, and I would travel up to New York once a week to intern under her. But beyond that, I had no real design skills. But I got into film because after college, I was working at a restaurant, miserable, did not want to be there. And I always did makeup for all of the shows, because one thing, I had a teacher growing up, Irene Thornton. She said, if you want to work in the theater, you have to know the theater. So it was one of those things where it's like, you can be an actor, but you won't always be working in the theater.
Right.
But if you know all the parts of the theater, you can always have a job in the theater. So that's how I started really paying attention to costume design and makeup. And I even did lighting for a moment, and don't ever ask me to do lighting. That is not,
You mean you're not gaffing for me next project?
sorry. I basically took that, and so I started doing makeup on photo sets and film sets. And there was a film set that I was on for makeup, and I already helped the costume, but then I did scenic dressing. And my friend Tasha, who was the producer of this film, said, wow, you're really good at this. This is something you should keep doing. And I was like, yeah, I should. And I did. And she got me on a lot of free projects. And I missed 2 shifts at this restaurant I was working at. So I quit before I was fired. And it was a great decision until winter came. And then that's when you learn about slow season in the freelancing world.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's interesting that, like, it feels like a common theme though, is that like we all had like this work ethic even when it wasn't in the field that we're in. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about how you were mastering all these different arts, but you were like working heavily. You went to like a clown school. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that is like that is dedication. But still, you know what I mean? It's like that there's so much dedication in that. And I think that's I do think people are allowed to try their hands in a bunch of different things, but that work ethic is very important. That's like what makes you good at what you're doing, right? Like even when I was in high school, I didn't think I was gonna be doing film. I thought I was gonna be playing basketball. But I was in the gym 12 hours a day hooping. It was like that the focus just redirects to something else, right? And it just so happens to be into the art world. And I think that's like very interesting. And like even the same for you. I'm not gonna tell your story for you, but like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I mean, it was everything that like you can like slowly see the parts coming together of being like, I had no will to do this back before I think my sophomore year of high school. And then my best friend at the time was like, hey, we should take a graphic design elective. That got me into a like tech school where I learned a lot of stuff there for the next 3 years. And then that translated. And like I said, it was just these building blocks that somehow led to doing film work. I don't know. It's always interesting to see the like paths that people have to go down.
When did you realize that? What was like your aha moment? Like, oh, I'm on some shit. Like I'm nice at this. You know what I mean?
I think honestly, this is gonna sound a little cocky, but like that first time I was on set, when I was like, I remember I was just like spraying someone down with a spray bottle, and I was like, oh, this is what my life path is meant to be. Spraying this man with water. But I think it's just like, in reality, would I say, have I had that aha moment yet? I feel like I'm always trying to step up to that actual aha moment, because every job that I take, and I'm curious for this for you guys too, but it's like, I feel like with every job I take, I try to select work that pushes me in a way, or like there's a sense of uncomfortability in every job that I take, so that way I can learn, because otherwise, like, where am I going to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say it's like, would I look back at my projects and be very proud of them? Of course. But you know, even the works that I did last year that I am utterly in love with, I look back and I'm like, should have done that. Should have done this. Yeah.
I think it's always going to be that way, which sucks. Because there's even things, like I think my aha moment, oddly enough, almost just happened with our short film, where there was some moments there where it was, you know, our biggest budget thing. It was 100% creative control, you know, like we could do anything, and there's shots in there that I've never made something like that. And so having those, seeing it, and then seeing everyone around be like, this is crazy. That was the moment where I was like, oh, this isn't just like playing around with the camera, you know, like there is something here where it's the culmination of everything that I've learned over the past, 3 years.
Yo, I still haven't had that moment because it's too much fun, I'll say. You know, like I think the issue that me and Zach suffer from, especially when it comes to this, is we are quite literally always like, we're not there yet. Like we think, even with all the things we've accomplished, be it like being on MTV or like Billboard or like being published in editorials, we're always like, we're like 5% of where we want to be. You know what I mean? So I think I understand that we've honed in on an aesthetic and that is an accomplishment, I will say that. But when we got on MTV, we didn't tell anyone, because we were mad because MTV wanted us to edit our music video. Yeah. Like they had us
take a cigarette smoking scene out, and we were like,
the audacity.
This ruins the whole beginning.
Like, who do they think compromise my art.
I'm like, who do you think? When we went to go see Alex Prager, again, a huge influence on us. Alex Prager told us themselves, you guys are really good. And I was like, she was probably lying. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
I know,
it's just like,
right?
And I think it's because we also draw from so much inspiration that like when we see something new, we're like, oh, damn, that hasn't been tapped into yet. Oh, we got to see if we can try to master that or put this into this. So it will always feel like a work in progress, like no matter what. I used to make films for fun when I was a kid, like in general. I had a skateboard team. I would like make our skate footage, right? And I was like, it's cool. I mean, like it wasn't really anything crazy. And then in high school, I remember there was a senior project end of the year and they were like, yo, you can do whatever you want to. And they were like, I was like, I'm gonna make a movie, right? Because I remembered making the skating videos. I'm like, this should be an easy A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got a B.
Great movie.
Yeah, easy. Emma Stone's breakout film. I learned something about like my style of filmmaking, and Zach hates when I use these 3 words. I know.
My God.
He knew they were coming, but it's like ethos, pathos, and logos, right? And those are just like the three things you're tapping into when you're marketing. I'm really good at ethos. Like I made this school film and I was showing it to the class. People were like crying and stuff. The film did not look great, but I was just able to tap into terrible. It's still up. It's still up on YouTube. Like if y'all do some deep diving, it's like autofocus. You can hear the shutter like it's awful. And yeah, the film is still up. It's like 30 minutes. Like, I don't even know how they let me get away with it. It was the whole class period that I showed this movie.
Everyone must have loved you.
Oh my God. No, they hated me. And there was like, I very distinctly remember, because I was like, you know how when you're showing someone your work, you're like looking around, like trying to, especially when you're in school. So I'm like looking like, oh, okay, that didn't land. Like, all right, cool. The ending of the movie was like, it was a documentary. The ending of it was like me just recording seniors throughout the hallway. And I was like, I need something to capture this feeling of like graduating and not knowing what's next. And I was like, Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten, right? That John start playing, not a dry eye in the house. You know what I mean? And it just showed me like, oh man, I'm good at connecting the dots on what can make people feel things or like put someone in a specific situation, right? And I say me and Zach always bump heads at that because I know I can make people feel things with a camera phone, right? And Zach will be like, that's cool, but like there's more to this than just the ethos of it. You know what I mean? Right. And I think that's the best part of like when we bump heads on things because it's always about like pushing the art further. And like I'll look back at certain things we did at the beginning. Remember we did that picnic with Mel? Yeah. So we did this picnic. Mel was like a friend of ours who like has acted in a ton of our stuff. Amazing actress. One of the first things we did was a random picnic in, was that Rittenhouse? Washington Square Park. And I was like, it's gonna be one shot. We're gonna like come down on her and then we're gonna come back out. But she's gonna be giving a monologue over top of it and I'm gonna come lay down and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool. So Zach shoots it and you did it with a manual zoom, right? He did it with a manual zoom and zoom back out. I didn't like it, so I threw Ken Burns on there. And Ken Burns is just like a digital zoom slowly going in. And up until like last year, I was like, Zach was wrong. And I had this, I went back and watched it like, oh, this does look terrible. Like why? He was right. And I think it's been good though, because there are times where like I will be so adamant about an idea and being like, people are gonna feel this, like this is it. And Zach will be like, all right, cool. Let's base that in reality. Like, let's actually see what we can accomplish with this.
So we just recently worked on a film called The Cure for Depression.
Yeah.
Would you guys like to talk about that?
Of course. Let's share this process. This process is still going. We're like some Sixers, so trust in the process.
Right.
The Cure for Depression, like, came about, and I know we've like previously touched on it, but it is a short film about the adverse effects of consumerism on mental health, specifically in the Black communities. Also about how mental health is kind of stigmatized in the Black community. Like I remember growing up, if you told someone you had a therapist at my school, they'd be like, yo, you're nuts. Like you're crazy. Like you're trying to get help for your trauma. What is wrong with you? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I will say, like, especially like being a Black person, it's one of those things where we're always told like, yo, your ancestors had it worse. So like, how are you going to be sad today? Like, and I mean that there can be two truths to things, you know what I mean?
And generational trauma with that too.
Exists. I'm like, yeah. So like, and I think that was a very good touching point. But like, so the thing that kind of put the battery in it was Black Star was having like a filmmakers lab.
Yeah. I've
Black
done
Star
a
had
few of those.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you worked.
I have.
So they had a filmmakers lab, and we had to pitch this idea to them, and it was the cure for depression. So I wrote out a full treatment. I had a homie who lives in London named Isabella Waldron, who was going to co-write it with me.
I have so many friends that are friends with Isabel, but I have never met her.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I know.
That genius.
Big
Like
and small
she's
world.
insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like wrote the treatment for it, submitted it to Black Star, and just played the waiting game. Black Star hits us back, and they're like, "Yo, we didn't accept you." And I was like, "I'm not even gonna read the rest of this." And then my homie Knox also got rejected, and I was like, "Yo, what did your email say?" He was like, "Mine said blah blah blah," and I was like, "Oh, mine didn't say that." So then I went back to my email and went down, and it was like, "We didn't accept you, but you were shortlisted for this," and that comes with a meeting with the director of film for Kickstarter.
Oh, right on.
So then we
Could
were
you
like,
imagine? This man almost just let
just
our career
did
just
it. Yeah,
fly away.
just let it go.
Just
That's
about to
that
let your whole
pride.
career
That's that pride.
wandered
That's
to your
that pride.
own perception of what this email was going to tell you.
Oh my God. And I
Yeah.
don't know. It's ego, dude. Like, I have to have that with this. There's this like
Every
godlike
artist
complex
needs
of
ego.
like, yo, I
Ego,
didn't get
logo,
accepted.
pathos.
The audacity. Yeah. I'm like, we should have been first in line. But like, we got shortlisted, right? And that was cool. It was great. It was humbling. But we got to meet with the director of film for Kickstarter.
Nice.
We are chopping it up with them like homie type stuff, right? Like, I'm like, this isn't an interview. I'm just curious about their process for stuff, blah, blah, blah. I tell them what the movie is, and they're like, yo, like, we love your energy. We are showcasing short films in the month of March next year. Would you like yours to be showcased on the Kickstarter website? And we were like, yeah, why not? Like, of course. So then we had to build a whole campaign around this short film that, like, I don't know, materialize like on paper over the course of like a week. We had to like materialize, it turned into a real thing because now there was like support behind it, right?
Yeah.
We still didn't know how much Kickstarter was going to promote it. Like, I was like, this woman's just nice. It's again like that thing I was talking about earlier where we're like, they probably didn't really mean that. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, it is what
Right.
it is.
Right.
We launched the campaign for Kickstarter. Our homie Josh helped us out. Josh
Walker.
Joshy Walks. Yeah.
Josh Walker, everyone.
Yeah, who's an amazing producer now. Love this man. Love him. But he helped us like build our Kickstarter, and then it went live. It was one of the most terrifying things in the world because me and Zach had the social media aspect down. We made a proof of concept, like short things so that people would get the style of the world that we're trying to create. And like, you know what I mean? And that did well. But people seeing your Instagram video and people donating money to something that they get no return on investment for, that's tough.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's
That's
hard.
tough.
And
So-
is Kickstarter I know that there's like
It's all or
platforms.
nothing.
It's all or nothing.
all or nothing,
So
my
it's either
boy.
you get it
So,
or you don't get it.
Yeah, our campaign was for $20,000, and if we got like $19,999, they'd be like, "Nope, you don't get any."
Refund everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Man.
So there was like an initial boom for it. And we're like, great, we're at 10K. We get to 15K. There's like, I think 6 days left.
Right.
And me and him are like, okay, so do we max out a credit card?
Yeah.
Like, what's the course of action for this, right?
Right.
What bank do I rob?
And it was also awful because 20K is not a lot to for a short film.
Oh,
you know,
that's
it's
pennies.
nothing. It's
Pennies.
Which is so annoying to say.
when we did it, we didn't know.
Yeah,
Because me and Zach
exactly.
were used to like DIY, all the stuff we done in the past was just me,
Yeah.
him, and like one other person. But like this was supposed to be a real thing. You know what I mean? Like a
Right.
big thing. Then Kickstarter came through. Kickstarter put us on the homepage of Kickstarter with like badges, like Project We Love, like check out this, blah, blah, blah. We got like angel investors overnight. We actually woke up to hitting the goal.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
woke up to like texts from people like, yo, congrats, guys. I'm looking like, did I have a baby? That I didn't know? I'm like, what are they talking about, bro? Yeah. But we got it. We got once we hit the goal, it was wild because I think me and him kicked it that day. I mean, me and Zach hang out literally almost every day already, especially in that era. Now it's like he's kind of gotten some distance from me.
Kind of annoyed.
But, but in that era, at least, it was me and Zach were seeing each other every day. But for the Kickstarter, I don't remember what happened, but we were kind of like separate, right?
Yeah.
And then we hung out, we saw the money in the thing, and we were like, we still didn't believe it. We were like, yo, because on Kickstarter, you can make a deposit and cancel it.
Yeah.
So we were
And
like,
mind you, the thing that put us over the edge. So I think by the end of it, we had rounded out around, I think like 25,000. And like Kickstarter and all, like they take their share, so it came down. But what put us to that point was some random guy at $18,000 who out of nowhere donated $6,000 in like the last 2 days of our campaign.
Wow.
And I messaged him and was like, yo, thank you so much. You have no idea what you just did. Like, this is life-changing. I cannot believe you just did that. And he just said, don't worry, no problem. It's just what I do.
It's just what I do.
And to this day, I was like Googling this man's name. I was on like LinkedIn, IMDb. I was like, he has to be some random producer who's like just trying to do something, because for that money, you got like the executive producer tag.
Right.
And so I was like, this has to be someone. This man is a ghost.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is. If you're out there, find us because I want to thank you.
No, seriously. And we thought it was a gag. We were like, this man is going to wait until
He's
the
gonna
last
give you
day
your
and
money.
pull that money
Take
away
it
because he doesn't want
out.
to see us thrive. Like this stranger is probably someone from high school just messing with us. You know what I mean? Like,
Someone you pissed off with.
yeah, I'm like,
your
they're getting
skating
me back. Like my
videos.
English teacher is like, I'll show you. And it's, I don't know, man. Then we got it and it was like, cool. We have the money for it. And Zach was like, all right, we can shoot. And I was like, I got to finish the script.
Yeah.
And the movie sat for a year.
Yeah.
It sat for a year because of me. Like I had to write the script and I wrote.
Record show.
Yeah, let the record show tell the story. I had to write the script and it was tough because we, by that point, had been getting so much commercial work that I had to rewire my brain to make a film and not like an ad. You know, so I'm like, oh, these scenes can play out. I'm not limited to 30 seconds. Like I can actually write this how I feel.
Right.
So yeah, I got into a state of like, I was going through like multiple writing partners, like really throwing stuff at the wall, like trying to figure this out.
Trying to get it done.
And I had to figure out the root of it. Why did I write this in the first place? I went back and looked at the treatment, started watching some old nostalgic movies. Like, this is why I do this.
Right.
So then once the pen hit the paper, it started flowing, right?
Yeah.
I kept telling, Zach got like 9 false dates on when the script was gonna be done. By the time he got the actual date, he was like, whatever, dude. Like, it is.
Because it would be like, he'd be like, yo, we're in a really great spot. Yeah. I think we're going to be done this in like a month. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's fantastic news. And then like 3 days later, I would get a call and he'd be like, yo, what's stopping us from making this taking this from 1 location to like 5? And I'm like, well, what's stopping us is a whole script. So like, I don't know.
And it's like the influence thing, right? Like I'd see a movie, we were also learning.
Yeah.
So we'd watch movies from like Swedish directors, like Roy Anderson. And I'm like, this man filmed this all in one composition. This script has to change. And I'll like throw everything out and be like,
you know what? That's good though. I feel like most pieces and good scripts do take, like if you hear from a lot of directors and writers, it's years.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, exactly.
Like it takes time to like really like craft a fully thought piece.
You know? For sure.
And if we would have made it a year ago, it wouldn't have been
this.
It would not have been what it would have been.
Yeah.
The year that like we spent, we also met so many incredible people that worked with us as our crew.
Right.
So there's just no way it would have amounted to like what I think it's going to amount to.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, I'll give you your credit, I guess.
Come on, man. I got a pen. He could do the graphic design, give it to him. I got a pen, boy. And that ain't no thing. I'm just like you. You know what I mean? I put my pencil on one leg at a time.
So we had a lot of like meetings prior to actually filming where, and for the Cure for Depression, I am the depression tape voice, as we mentioned earlier in this interview. And so we had all of these meetings with all the actors on like video calls, and then we met in person a few times to go over that. Yeah. How was that experience for both of you?
It made it real. We saw all these people in a room completely under the will of something that we came up with. Right. You know, they were just there because they believed in an idea. And that idea was being put to use. And I remember there was a time where Zach looked over at me like, it's kind of crazy. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And even at that point, it's like, we still have to shoot it. You know what I mean? It's still like a matter of like, we got to shoot it. This is nothing. But it actually, when it comes to like TV and advertising and doing work for that, you don't really get to like work with the actors in that sort of realm.
No.
So I'm like calling old acting professors or like mentors and being like, yo, I'm going to try this exercise with these actors to try to tap into their ethos and see a little SAT word for you. And I'm talking to all of these mentors, and I made a curriculum for it, and it was great to see how well it was received.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that was the fun part. Like trying to have people embody these characters through a route like that I'm leading. You know what I mean? And I think that was extremely, extremely cool. I think my favorite part was when you were all there. When was that? I think it was like the rehearsal.
Yes, one of our final
3
rehearsals.
or 4 days before shooting, I think.
Yeah, where we got all together. We met at one of the actresses' house,
Elizabeth
Elizabeth.
Bergs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic painter.
Elizabeth
also.
Berglund,
Yeah, but we all met there, and that was really great because remember we started off that rehearsal being like, okay, we're going to have to do this like 5 times. This is the first time we've really read this together after our first initial table read, where we didn't even have everyone there.
Exactly, yeah.
And then so this was our first time, all of us in the same space, all of us reading together, and we only ended up going over a few scenes, like 3 times max.
Yeah, 100%.
Most.
Yeah. That was and it was cool because like Zoe, the protagonist, like who plays Edie, like the story's about her being separated from the crew, so she was never in any of the meetings, like any of the cast meetings. I was working with them one-on-one. And it was just cool because a lot of people just had this like undying belief in what we were doing, right? I remember like our friend Name is in it. I met Name at Fashion Week. Name is a cool influencer actress who has a ton of things to do and would drive from Brooklyn to come do,
like
you know what I mean?
Every time, yes.
Yeah.
Like 2 hours to come down for a meeting and then drive another 2 hours back to New York.
Just for like firm belief in the script, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, that was like really cool. So then that ends. The shoot comes up. We have Alexander Haupt, brilliant producer. Love this man. He gets stuff done. And Alex, I like forever indebted to him and a lot of the other crew because like it came down to building a crew, and that's important.
We had a strong crew.
That is important.
Strong crew.
Which is so crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Because like to break a bit of this fourth wall, like going up into it, we have a group of production company friends. They're called Mid-Vessel. Huge fans of theirs, great friends of ours. And when we had first got the money, I had met with them and been like, hey, I want you guys to work as the crew. They were so down. And then, like Eli said, that year goes by, and then I reach back out to them, have this meeting. They're like, yeah, we're down. And I'm like, cool, let's plan a scout day. And they're like, well, this day won't work because of this, and this won't work. And conflicts came up, which I love them. They're fine.
Yeah.
Not to like
powerful teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah, and so literally like they had come on, we had to go our separate ways, and then we were like scrambling just to find the rest of our crew. And my God, did every person that we found came together so well.
Yeah.
And
Connor, Tom.
Connor O'Mara.
Connor O'Mara, man, what a genius, man. Get that man his flowers. So like I met Connor on a snowboarding trip. I don't snowboard. It was just like divine intervention, right? It was great that happened. Like I wanted to try something new, into a cabin. Connor was there, and also Melissa.
Yeah.
Melissa
Dabbick.
Dabbick was there.
One of the twins.
One of the twins
one of our-
We also had Gina, who was
Gina
fantastic.
Grasso.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Gina started Ugly Art with us. Like,
Yes.
Ugly Art is, like, Gina is very integral to Ugly Art. Like, Gina was not being paid in the beginning, and neither were we. Were losing money, and Gina would show up with a smile on her face, like, I maxed out my credit card, so this was and we're like, yo, no way, same, like, high five. But Gina was very integral into crafting the aesthetic because Gina was doing the styling. Yeah. And people bring up our styling a lot. And Gina was like, and then she went and she got a really good job. And she's back now, and she did the movie, which was like such a great full circle moment. Yeah. Like it was like us coming from like just nothing, just like messing around during the pandemic, trying to figure things out to like, we're shooting a movie now, and we get to use some of the people who helped build like what Ugly Art is in general.
That reminds me of like, so for the behind the scenes, you guys approached me about doing a mockumentary of the behind the scenes of the filming of Cure for Depression. And I was ecstatic because one, I wanted to be on set, because when you're just the voice, you don't get to go on set. And I wanted to be on set. I mean, all of my friends were there. And so you were like, So you're going to come on as Stella Virgin and you're going to dick around. And you're going to act as if everybody hates us. And I was like, easy.
Method acting.
No problem. This won't be hard. And it was me basically improving for about 8 hours.
No, it was actually insane.
That
was the most impressive thing. Literally all improv. Just going through sets, bringing up random things, making jokes when they came in. You know what I mean? That was such an impressive feat. I can't wait for that to drop.
Me too.
I'm very because that was it's really good. You guys made filming. You made it easy. Filming is hard, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed though, because people will see the fun things you do, and they'll see the result, and they do not see the hell that you go through to make something look like that, or like what the environment was like. So the fact that we were able to keep like a fun environment, and we were shooting like 30 shots that day.
It was the most hectic day. We
crazy.
Had full cast, full crew. We had behind the scenes, me fooling around. We had all the extras. We had behind the scenes photos.
We did like the promo shots that day as well.
Every shot had like a jib or a dolly.
So like the most complex shots. We went over time. We had to pay bandos, but we were more concerned about, we'd rather our bank account suffer right now and we get the shot. Bank accounts are still suffering.
I'm almost mad that you couldn't have been there for that last like hour or two, because
I really wanted to be there.
I know, I figured, but it was literally like we're like slowly approaching our time that we're supposed to be out of this house. And the owner comes up and he's like, "Hey, just to let you know, like, this is how much the overtime is." And I was like, "Yeah, I understand." And I looked down at my watch and I'm like, "Oh, I don't understand."
2 more shots.
So after the entire process of filming has now completed, right? You guys are still editing, of course, but currently, if you were to reflect back, how does the experience reach up to your expectations?
I think it was almost so bittersweet, which was surprising because we wrapped the shoot without having to compromise anything really. You know, no shots were lost, no shots were cut. But when I came out of it, you know, like, there's so many things that in the moment I was like looking at it and I would be like, oh, this is like a little wobbly, or like this comp didn't land the way that I want it. And then, you know, I gave it a week and now there's just not a shot where I don't feel like completely fulfilled with. I think, I don't know, again, it's the most beautiful thing that I've made. And to see that accompanied with amazing performances, amazing set design, amazing styling from Gina, like it,
amazing directing.
Everything else came together really well. It's incredible. I think I'm very happy with it, honestly.
Yeah, and like I am beyond ecstatic about it. I think like we were so on our feet the entire time, we didn't get a chance to take it in. And the one time I did get a chance to almost take it in, I almost like cried. And it was when I had to call a wrap, like that final wrap. Like it was like, we had to get it done in a one take, which was also absurd because it was like multiple marks in one thing. Yeah, it was like one of the most complex shots, but we didn't have enough time to do it a second time. So we go through it, we do this like final shot, and Zach, like after it ends, there's like an awkward silence. Zach looks over to me and I'm just, that's a wrap. And I'll like have a break in my voice. And then of course, in true set fashion, everyone's like, yeah. And then it's like room tone. And exactly. The whole moment's just like killed. Like it's just like, so we have to be quiet.
Everyone's like quietly
like,
cheering.
On the side, like,
And our sound person Kat is just sitting there like recording, like looking around awkwardly at everyone being like, can we hurry this room tone up?
Yeah,
so,
we're like trying to get excited.
We could celebrate.
Yeah, and then like once the room tone ended, it looked like the World Series in that mug. We were like high-fiving, like yeah, like chest bumps. It was such an amazing feat because there was so much work that went into it, so much ups and downs. It was just and it's not even edited yet, and we edit it, which is cool. but it was like, oh, we did it. Like we created this thing. This idea did not exist before. Like we sat down and thought of this, and it was just like this like euphoric feeling of like, this is what it's about, right? This is like, I mean, of course, like the hard drive crashed with like,
you want to talk about that?
and it could be brief, but like back up your hard drives, folks.
What ended up happening was like we shot the film, backed it up on a hard drive, and it was so funny because we were like pushing our budget so much, and we were like, all right, we should really get another hard drive to back all of this stuff up. But then we wrapped production, rest for like 2 days, and then immediately had to jump into like
another shoot.
5 projects that we had put off in the month that we shot the film. And so we were like shooting back to back and every day backing up that stuff. And then one day I give the hard drive to Eli and he's like, hey, it's not working.
It's not turning on.
And I'm like, nah, you're just not doing it right.
He told me I was doing it wrong.
Yeah, I was
it's
like,
just a
there's no
power
way.
button.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Come to find out, our hard drive had shorted with
man.
like our film on it.
We got it back. Like, thank God. We had, like,
Yeah.
it got recovered. There was like this moment of limbo though, of like, what the fuck?
Right?
like,
what could have this all have been?
I'm like, if this
right?
is all gone, we're gonna have to shoot a cheaper proof of concept. And like, I was talking to Zach, like, yo, we're gonna have to like blah, 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 blah. Zach was silent the whole time. And he was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. If this footage is gone, I'm gonna become an accountant.
You're gonna hang it up.
I think this is a sign. Like, I think,
So I guess I'll start with like just to briefly say some of the short films that I've worked on recently and then move into the project that I'm working on now. But this past year I did a Black Star film called All That's Left with Simone Holland.
Simone,
Baby. She's absolutely amazing,
Dope,
inspiring,
dope. Yeah.
and lovely. I production designed that piece.
I have seen the things that you've shown me are just absurd.
Wild.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense in the most beautiful ways because it's like really playing with visual effects. And it was Simone, myself, and Ayumi Perry, who is also an incredible stylist. Like she is an like incredible singer. Like she's also one of those people that can do literally anything. Yeah. And I worked on that piece earlier this year where we also had a shot that we can only do one take of. And it was of a big sand scene that sand. So it was myself and my assistant and friend, Jackie, who is one of my studio mates. We built this like sand contraption for this actress to be pulled down into so it looks like that she was being swallowed into an hourglass. And we only had one take of that shot. And let me tell you, I have never had my heart pound more.
Yeah.
I went full director mode in that because I had to direct 30 adults holding these canvases that were ripping with over like 300 pounds of sand on them to lift up to drown this woman in sand and have Andrea Parmalee and Katie Harkins underneath to like help assist her out. That was a project that I did earlier this year, and I'm excited for that to come out in Black Star because it's one of the
shout out Black Star.
Yeah,
man.
shout out Black
Yeah,
Star.
shout out Black Star.
But the piece that I'm currently working on right now is not film. It's but it is with a film director. His name is Lance Wheeler, and it is being produced by Peter English. And
No kidding. Little Pinglish.
English.
Yes.
Yes, I love Peter English. He, if I had to say, if anybody had the best intentions for my career, it would be Peter English.
Yeah.
We've
I mean,
known you
we
for a
tried
little
our
while.
best, but
I-
sorry,
you
sorry,
guys
we're
are
not Peter
doing
English.
great.
Whatever.
No, but Peter
Yeah.
English, I started working with him a while back. I worked a film that I won't go too much into detail about it, but it really almost made me stop working in film entirely.
Yeah.
And I reached out to the producer of that film and I was like, I would love to work with you. And so anytime you need somebody, let me know. the first person that I was offered or the first job was a music video with Peter English. I'm so glad I said yes, because there was a real possibility. I was like, I'm done. And since then, he and I have worked on many projects together, and including Where There's Smoke, which is a art installation piece that's interactive. It'll be an art yard from June 18th to 3 months down the line. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to go see it. But it's a very cool piece where it's including technology, documentarian, like audio of Lance and his father having a conversation. The whole piece, Where There's Smoke, it comes from Lance's life, where his father was obsessed with fires. He would go and take tons and tons of photos of all these houses that were being burnt down because he was a firefighter. So he was always there. So he always took all these imagery. Yeah. But Lance's childhood house also burnt down. And so Lance thought that his father was the one to burn down his house. Never really had the conversation about it for a long time until he finally got older. And the only way that his dad felt comfortable having any conversation about his personal life or anything was through interview. So they have about 15 hours worth of interviews. And before he's able to ask the juicy question, did you burn down the childhood home? Lance's father dies of cancer. So we never know if he actually burnt down the house or not. So the installation is you going.
What? That's so wild.
It's incredibly wild. It's incredibly wild.
Like, who scripted this?
Right. It sounds like something that you could have.
Right.
It sounds like something you could have written, but it's the fact that it's his life is like so crazy, and it's touching and it's endearing. And so I'm production designing it. So what's interesting about this is that since this is Lance's project, I am taking in his work and I'm taking in his style, and I am the fabricator of it. And the piece for me has like grown from what was originally pitched to now. Like before it was like, hey Kim, I think we're gonna need you to go look around for some like chairs and dressers, paint them all monochromatic, maybe burn something. You know, we have the fire department on call, they're ready. To now we are building custom tables for this piece. We are having interaction with it. We have this brilliant mind, Josh Korn, who is doing all of the technology for it. So you'll walk through this exhibit with a flashlight and listen to the audio, but as you move through, the world interacts with you. So lights change, things move, or different audio or music starts playing. And it's all of the photography that Lance's father took. It is art that Lance has like digitalized and shifted from his father's work, and just loads of information about their life. And he asks you questions throughout the piece as well. So it's a beautiful piece about grief and life and family. And it's a beautiful vessel for you to like use his masterpiece to compare it to your own masterpiece, right, of life.
Oh, for sure.
So that has been an expanding, right? Like what I was talking about earlier, always taking something that's a little out of my comfort zone.
Right.
I'm out of my comfort zone. But it is great in the sense of like I'm learning a lot, and you know, I'm creating great connections, and the fact that I can have a piece up for 3 months that someone can go like interact with
for sure
is great. So
that's incredible.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah, right?
What?
Do you feel like you were able to carry over any knowledge into this new realm? Because this feels completely out of, I hate to say like out of your wheelhouse, but like it seems that way. Like this is an insane thing that feels so foreign to anybody. Yeah,
it's definitely a bit out of my wheelhouse in the sense where, you know, me working into like film narrative, right? Like that, it's like, okay, dress a home, dress a restaurant, dress a soccer field, right? Those are things that like you kind of pull from. And, you know, you can have all these references photos for that and you build from there. This is an entirely just different plane. This is an art installation. This is some museum work, right? So it's one of the things that I'm doing. I'm taking some of the photography that Lance's father took, and I'm currently collaging them into new pieces. And he's going to take them and he's going to digitalize them. And then I'm going to recollage on top of that and to create about 5 massive pieces that'll be on the wall. And so I am really stretching all of my artistic muscles that like I've had since I was a kid.
Right.
But it's also new for me because there's a lot of technology involved that I don't know about.
Right.
But you will.
But I will, and through this process, exactly. So there's like a few times where I've been in meetings where they're talking about like how to have this beacon work over here, and maybe a robo arm will do this and track your movement. And I'm like, I'm caveman with rock.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting this piece as much as I can.
Yeah.
But what I love is that there's immense support from the entire team. And there's immense support through my assistants as well. I have my friend and assistant, Nico Settler, I believe is his last name, building the tables.
Dope.
With me.
Yeah.
He's becoming more of the carpenter of it, which is something that is just really relieving, but it's also something that it's nice to have, because when you get bigger and when you do more things as the designer, you design and then you hand off your pieces for other people to construct or for people to do. So sometimes I kick myself being like, man, why don't I not know how to use SketchUp to draft this table in 2 hours, right? But this is the process to get me to that point for when the next process where I may not have as much support, I have the knowledge and the willpower to do it.
Okay.
That's incredible.
Yeah, like what? That is insane, yo. And I'm very excited because I know it's gonna be crazy. I saw your work on Sugar. I saw how you like you created this like dream like atmosphere, which I wish I could have walked through it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
you.
Now there's gonna be a Kim Redman set. The motherfuckers can explore.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. I would actually love to talk about Sugar for a moment.
Yeah.
That was directed by Evan Galiffa and Travis Hune.
Evan, Francois.
So Evan was one of our
Francois.
characters as well. We poached him from you.
Exactly. Sugar was like a passion project that was last year. And that was a piece about the cycle of grief and like male intimacy. That was the first production that I was like, all right, I'm going all in on it. I created an entire mood board of like all different references of like paintings and photographs of like what I want this sphere to be, right? And Evan and Trav loved it so much they end up rewriting parts of the script to meet my design, which is incredibly flattering. And what I loved about that is I was able to create 3 dream spaces. There was a living room, a kitchen, and the outdoors. And the way that I was able to get that set to be was poetic, because what I wanted is then every shot you see glimpses of the past and the present in any shot that you're in, and a point of isolation, and how to create an environment that at one time is inviting to another time being somewhere you want to avoid, right? Because in this space we are in Sugar, these dream spaces are the space where you flash back to Sam's childhood of a father and son relationship that started, but it's not even started. It's like what Sugar's great about, it's like talking about the grayness and how we're all gray, right? We like to think that there's good and there's bad, and there's not. And that's something I try to relate in my designs and in anything. It's like truly like, how do I get the message that is being portrayed in the plot within the sphere visually? And so there's a scene where the first shot of it is like the father and son outside, and I painted 4 full 12 by 15 backdrops. I swore that I would never do that again, and I lied.
You're building a whole world now.
Just do that.
You're building a whole world. Like, literally,
But I painted 2 sunny backdrops and 2 like night sky backdrops, right? So the first scene we see it with the sunny sky backdrops, and it's a really lovely time. And then the next time that we see the outdoors is through an arched doorway, and you have the child in it, and the background, it's the night sky. And that's the next time that we see the father and son together. So it is not just verbal cues or physical cues, it's environmental cues. It's something that I really try to relate in my designs. And that does take a lot of specificity.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
I think that's something that all three of us are really strong about. And that's why we probably really connect and relate with each other, because we have like very specific ideas, very attention to detail.
Make nothing without intention. Nothing.
Y'all left me out of this
Yeah.
synchronization
Right?
there.
Even like when we were making the Cure for Depression, the character references we were pulling, like even Evan's character, like the director of Sugar, Francois, he was being pulled from like Klaus Baudelaire from Lemony Snicket. Like he was being pulled from Dick Tracy comic books.
Right.
It was just like, this is exactly how this should look because we know what this will evoke. And you doing that night and day thing is like, that's just genius, yo. Like, one time for Kim Redman. I think it's about time for a martini. What did you say?
Oh, I love martinis. Dirty.
All right. So now it's time for the martini shot, which is 3 very hard-hitting questions. You rapid fire. Got to answer them as quick as you can, right? First thing that comes to mind. All right, Zachary, what's the best film or TV show you've seen this year?
So, Elijah, I'm glad you asked. I just watched Beau is Afraid, and my God, I loved it. I don't care what anyone else is saying. I loved it. Yeah. It is an incredible journey. An Odyssey. The Iliad is shook. All right? I think it's incredible. Yeah. But Kim...
I have not problems, but I have some fears with Beau is Afraid. I'm afraid. But okay. So I went to this film blind. Yeah. My friend Zoe Feldman, she asked me to go with her, and I was like, yeah, totally, no problem. I like watch 5 seconds of the ad, and I was like, great, Joaquin Phoenix, perfect. Oh. 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours of true surreal horror comedy, and I was so disoriented.
Yeah.
I walked out of the theater. I walked into a group of people that I knew, and I had no idea where I was or who anyone was.
I think I had told you I left the theater and almost got hit by a car.
Yeah, you did.
Because I was like, my brain was not there. I just wandered in the traffic.
Literally.
Ari Aster.
Come on, man.
But Kim, is there a movie that you've seen?
Is there a movie or TV show that you've seen this year?
This year, the TV show that I'm really loving is Yellow Jackets.
I've only heard good things about Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets is fire, y'all. The plot, it's just, it keeps like, there was a moment where you were like, okay, when are we getting to the cannibalism? And I'm not giving anything away by saying that. They tell you in the first 3 minutes of the first episode if you watch. But it's the whole time, it's like, when are we getting to the cannibalism? When are we eating people?
Story of my life.
Right? And just the way that they write all of these women's characters are like massively creative and interesting and full, and like it's some of the best like character development that I have seen in a TV show in a long time.
Wow. Elijah, follow up?
Yo, okay, hear me out. I was gonna say some auteur shit, but I'm gonna say The Parent Trap.
Hey,
hear me out, right?
I thought you weren't gonna do
Which
auteur
one?
shit.
The Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap, like
Absolutely.
with the whole, I know the handshake by heart, like they do like the whole thing with the butler. The Parent Trap is remarkable, and I mean this from a perspective of I used to burn the hole in the VHS as a kid. Mm-hmm. You know, like watched it a ton of times. You don't really understand. Like you're like, oh, Lindsay Lohan has a twin, but it's like actually just her, right? Lindsay Lohan, like, acts her ass off in that movie. And like one of the best performances I have ever seen, especially from someone that age. Yeah. And the fact that it is a split screen the entire time, it's nuts. We have to watch it. No, I'm telling you, there are like scenes where like they'll cross paths and the key frame, it is like insanely done. Like, and I know I may be speaking from a place of nostalgia, but I rewatched that movie and I was like, Lindsay Lohan, there's a bright career for this young lady if she keeps at it. Because, man, it was amazing. Yeah. More recently, I saw Skinamarink. A lot of people hated that movie. Mm-hmm. Skinamarink is more so just about like the emotion you get when you wake up and you're 4 years old at your grandparents' house, all the lights are off and the TV's the only thing on. And it's this sense of like no security. you're like, where is everyone? This is terrifying.
Right.
You know, you're scared to go upstairs. You're scared to move. You're like,
Right.
I can stay here and be terrified, or I could try to trudge to grandpa's room. And both are equally as terrifying. Because it's like, so like, I don't know. And it also taps into like this feeling of sleep paralysis. I don't know if you've had that. The Hat Man, dude, the Hat Man's coming.
Afraid.
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
So Skinamarink is about that as well. It's like about you, like, it's like that weird like state of lucidity you're in like the middle of the night where you wake up disoriented, but you're just trapped in that feeling. And it is terrifying. Some people hated it. Some people were like, this is just random shots of hallways and like tricycles. I'm like, I know what that tricycle means. Like they're coming to get us. But all right. So the second question is, what is a line from a film or television show that you quote all the time? Which is going to be tough for us because we speak in all quotes to each other.
Yeah, we've seen too many of the same movies. So, okay. Weird deep cut here. The movie, I'm thinking of ending things.
Okay.
Charlie Kaufman.
Charlie Kaufman.
There's a scene where they talk about Jesse Plemons' character loving this chocolate Yule log cake.
Yes.
And his dad goes, Yule, Yule, Yule. And now anytime someone says like, Yule, do this, I always have to say, Yule, Yule, Yule. So for those two people that get it.
Exactly, because it's like an indie Charlie Kaufman movie, so no one will get it.
And not even a pivotal line of dialogue.
Kim, what do you quote?
I have two.
Okay.
Whoa.
I know.
Yeah.
Took me a long time to
Yeah, I
get
was
there.
about to say.
One is from SpongeBob.
Naturally.
Greatest TV show of all time, by the way. Sopranos, sorry. Breaking Bad, sorry. SpongeBob takes the cake. Go ahead.
Yep.
I'm ready.
It's like, are you sure that's SpongeBob?
Yes,
Which
it
season is that?
He's on his bike.
I know.
He's
Bike.
going to work at the Krusty Krab.
It's like his lone slogan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Is your other one It's a Me by Mario?
No, the other one, because it's the only other quote I can think of, is from The Help. And it is,
Oh, yeah.
you was kind, you was smart, and you was important. And let me tell you, I have said that to myself in the mirror a few times.
DJ Khaled definitely stole that from The Help.
Oh my God, you're right.
Had to.
No,
That's crazy.
it's a good line. What about you, Elijah?
So funny.
Yo, I said it's tough because, again, me and Zach have gotten to the point where we like speak foreign languages. Like when it comes to the film stuff, we do back and forth. I will say the scene in The Goodfellas when Joe Pesci says, maybe it's me, maybe he says, maybe I'm a little effed up. When the guy says you're like a clown, like you're funny like a clown. Whenever someone slights us or does something like disrespectful to us, me and Zach, like, maybe it's us. Like, maybe we're just a little fucked up. Okay? Like, maybe we're the weird ones. You know what I mean? But I'm thinking of ending things. It's so funny that The Lighthouse, there are so many movies me and Zach watch. Hard! Like, they're just quotable.
That's another one.
We live in a great era of quotable movies. You know, like...
I'll say like a stitch to that too. It's like, you know, TikTok and everything.
Yeah.
Everything is meant to be like a sound grab at this point.
Exactly.
That's how we communicate. It's another level of like, this is one of my theories, is that like TikTok is a beautiful thing of like cubism and data, right? If you were to think about art movements, right? Like cubism, it's like the collaboration of like, you have this random like voice clip from this person. You don't even know what they look like or what the clip is from, but you have someone dancing to it, or you have someone like making pottery to it, or like it's entirely randomized. And it's entirely fascinating in that. And it's the same thing with like movie quotes, right? So like we pull those and like and especially because we are the children of the internet, we often speak in quotes and in memes.
It's like it's a product of meme culture.
Exactly.
Like memes have now developed to the point where you can reference something that you know other people will know and use that for a different situation, and they will understand like why that's funny. Right? You know, like the wells have been dried.
Yeah, exactly.
When we quote like there will be blood. Like there's a scene where he says, I drank your milkshake, but he says like those wells have been dried, which is like a triple entendre. and we quote that back and forth at each other. People will ask us how we met. We'll say the Santa Fe burger. But we live in this era now where memes have their own sort of language. I think A24 dropped a movie called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That movie wasn't like my favorite, but the language in that movie, I know if my grandpa watched that, he would have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting to see how we're gonna look back on this era of like meme culture later on.
Yeah.
Third, final question. If you could swap with any position on set for a day, and you're a master at that craft already.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I would be whoever's grabbing Crafty.
I would be a director.
Yeah.
Because that is what I will be.
Lame.
Yeah.
Yeah. It won't be just for one day.
Yeah.
But that is
Yeah.
but that is where I want to go is directing.
I'm not swapping with nobody. I like had a chair set out. There's a little sandwich on it. I was like, they love me here.
Right. But what would,
I was a PA.
Right.
I know those. I like worked in art department. I know those tribulations. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think hair and makeup would be cool to try out, but I'm not actually like, do I gotta swap as director? Nah.
For a day.
For a day.
you
Come
can
on.
master it.
I'd
I
rather
can also
tell
choose
someone
styling.
that you can master it. I would like to say definitely producing. I know we produce, but being masters of producing would be really cool. Because we like pull as many people that we want together in a very unorthodox way. And I think if we knew like the algorithm on producing things like down to a T, it would be even more fun. Because producing is fun as it is right now, but we're trying to have a hoot nanny, you know?
Amen.
Awesome. All right, that was good. I think,
Kim, it was a pleasure chatting with you.
It was a pleasure talking to both of you.
Thanks for listening to Forte. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe for new episodes and follow @FortePod on Instagram for the latest updates and bonus content from today's guests. The Forte Podcast is a production of Maestro Filmworks and is filmed and recorded at Symphony Studio in Philadelphia.